All right. Hey, Long Beach and everywhere else. Hey, it's Jerlene and I'm live. Okay, it's been a moment. Let me see about folks pop if I can get some folks in here. Um, it's been a while since I've done my little talk of the town, y'all, and I got some interesting topic today. So hopefully, some folks join. Just give me a moment. I want to share out to some spaces and places. Hope everyone is doing well. I have been enjoying my little reprieve post campaign and election. I'll tell y'all about that another day. But today is, what is today? Today is Sunday, March 24th. I'm going live with a journalist, Jackie Rae. She was one of the 9 journalists that was laid off by the Long Beach Post several days ago. And I've been, talking to different community members, and everyone's like wants to know what's going on. So, I hit Jackie up, and she's going to be joining me live to share her experience. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about Jackie for y'all don't know. She's a journalist with over 12 years of experience. Like, she's the real deal, y'all. She I'll be up here pretending and stuff, y'all, but she like the real deal. I'll be watching her trying to learn some technique. Her focus, and she's coming to Long Beach, and prior to Long Beach has been on the Black community. For anyone who knows me, I am hypercritical about some things. And when I first learned the sister girl came in here, I was watching to see, she was the real deal. And I have to say, without a doubt, just very excited to have met her and know her. She's also a sports host. So for y'all sports fanatics, y'all need to check out Jackie Rae. I'm not into sports, but I actually sat and watched one day, and I was like, I may start watching sports and stuff just because Jackie Rae doing this. She's appeared on national broadcasts and syndicated radio. I'm going to pull her in, and then after I pull her in, I'm going to talk a little bit about who the Long Beach Post is, and then we're going to get right into this discussion. So this is not an interview, y'all. This is a dialogue and discussion. If anybody wants to join and tap in, I'm going to drop a link. Let me do this right now. Copy. Let's see. All right, I just dropped a link. So if someone wants to join, they are willing to join. And you just know my rules. The only people who can talk crap on this podcast, on this conversation, is me, because I don't want to be responsible for anybody else's words. So I'm going to pull Jackie in. Hey.
Hey.
Oh, wow, you absolutely just gorgeous. Where are you coming from?
I'm not coming from anywhere. My friend and I started a new show, another podcast called We've Got to Talk About This, and we just finished filming. So we trying to look kind of diva-y tonight,
I feel underdressed right now. I feel underdressed. Anyway, we're gonna work it out.
Right.
So, folks that have chimed in, if you are watching right now, can you give us a thumbs up? Let us know that you're here. Show us some love. Drop a comment in the comments. Just let us know that you're here. Please share this to other pages and other folks. Tell them to tap in. This is streaming right now on 2 Facebook pages and Jerlene Tatum, my YouTube page as well. Okay, so the Long Beach Post. For those of us who live here in Long Beach, the Long Beach Post is one of the few news outlets that we have here. It's a digital publication. It was originally formed in 2007 by former Mayor Robert Garcia and Sean Lamaki, please rest his soul. They started this, and there's a long history. I have the history pulled up. I could show it to y'all in a little bit. I'm not going to do it at this moment. But in 2023, the Long Beach Post went from being privately owned to a public nonprofit corporation. So I am going to pull this up. So Jackie, just give me just a moment. I want to share this with people. Okay, so because I'm always got to educate people in this process. So
absolutely.
So give me just a second. I'm going to show something to y'all. All right. So, what you will be seeing on your page in just a moment, this is the nonprofit that the Long Beach Post is now housed up under. It's the Long Beach Journalism Initiative. This happened in 2023.
Mhm.
Jackie can give us a little more information when she starts chatting with us about it. So, the mission of the Long Beach Journalism Initiative is to inform, educate the public by providing timely, accurate, and interesting news that inspires readers to think, act, and connect with the world around them. Many people don't know that the Long Beach Post is now a nonprofit organization. That information is coming out now. Like people who are paying attention, they're doing this. But anyway, this is online. I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with people. And Jackie, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all
All
right.
right.
I'm definitely better now than I was on a Friday morning, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Okay. So Friday morning is when things happen. So can you just share a little bit about who you are, how you came to be part of the Long Beach Post team,
Mhm.
and I have a few questions that I'm gonna ask you once you give us some background. But go ahead, it's all yours.
Yeah, so I actually really truly love the story as to how I came to be with the Long Beach Post. I had actually applied a year and a half before I got the job to be a journalist at the Long Beach Post as a food writer because I was working so much freelance and I was just tired of working freelance. And I saw they had a job opening, and Melissa Evans called me and basically was like, "Hey, you're not qualified because you've never done food journalism and you're a broadcast journalist, but your resume is great, and we just wanted to let you know that. And if there's an opportunity for you to work with us, we'll let you know." Um, Unbeknownst to me, Steve Lowry and Atira Rodriguez were behind the scene the whole time, saying, "Hey, we need diversity in this newsroom. We can't keep doing things this way." And fast forward a year and a half later, George Floyd was murdered. And I lived in Hollywood at the time. I was not feeling the national news and how they were portraying that and basically being like, Hollywood's all in. Look at this march in Hollywood, because that's not what it was. It's still Hollywood. There was a lot of photo ops, if you will, which was the vast majority of that. So I started doing my own independent journalism on that. And meanwhile, here in Long Beach, there was a whole uprising as well, and Black people were really saying, "Hey, we have this basically news giant in the city that's not doing anything to reflect us what's happening." And so shortly after that, I got the call. I went through two in-person interviews, I think one Zoom interview, and then I got the job. I started May 10th, 2021.
Wow, May 10th, 2021.
Yep.
I don't know. It seems like that was an eternity ago.
It does. It does.
I mean, coming out of 2020, it's like everything is thrown off for me.
Yes, yes.
So, I mean, I had an opportunity to meet you. I met you, I believe, I met you formally in 2022 during election season.
Mm-mm. You met me pretty early on. There when was it election season? I think you because you were I was covering something, and I was taking information from the community and I wasn't getting it quite right. And I don't know where you got my number from, but you called me directly and was like, "I'm looking at you
Oh,
right now, and that's
it
not right." And
was
I was like, "Girl, what is it?"
it was the murder of
Yes.
Rodriguez. You were
Yes.
sitting down on Broadway and you were standing
Mhm.
with folks that were not properly representing the family. And that is when I hit you up and said,
Yep. That
"That's
ain't it.
right.
And
Thank
I
you for
instantly
listening. Thank
Yes,
you
and I
for
instantly
listening."
called my editor and I'm like, "Yo, y'all got me at this press conference, but my sources are telling me this ain't it." And then that's how we got that story out properly, which is just a testament of how important the community is to us. There's things that you guys see, there's things that you guys hear that's just so valuable to what we do as journalists. So I immediately was like, "I'm glad she didn't have me out there looking like a whole fool. I appreciate
Yeah.
that."
I'm so glad you took, but I remember I was sitting across the street. Okay, so I wasn't going to the press conference, but I was watching it. So I was actually
Mhm.
sitting across the street in the Akibo place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I saw you. And I actually had my camera, and I'm sitting across the street. I like zoom in. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh no, oh no.
Oh, no, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah. So thank you. Also, thank you for your coverage of that story. You came out to the school board meeting that day, and I remember being interviewed by you as well as some other
Yep.
members. So I appreciate you, being out there and being willing to hear our stories.
Of course.
So this Long Beach Post thing, like, so to learn that 9 journalists were let go of. I heard originally it was supposed to be 7,
Correct.
and then it was 9.
Yes.
What led? Okay, so nonprofit organization is formed. Of course, we know nonprofits have to be funded. They either have to be funded by individual donors or grant funding, or corporate donors, or even ads. I don't see ads being run anymore on the Long Beach Post. So I know I signed up as a member. I got a yearly subscription after you convinced me to. Really want to support. After the LB report stopped due to the death of Mr. Bill Pearl, it was like, what are we going to do? The Press Telegram is not even local news anymore. They're so disconnected from the realities in our community. We can't depend on them. So for me personally, I was really excited about this transition from a private owner to a nonprofit organization. But also working a nonprofit, knowing that there's a lot of pieces that go into it and it requires support. And so one thing that I've Los Angeles Times read an article, and according to, and so in the ED, or executive director, is Melissa Evans, correct? Long Beach
Correct.
Post.
She's
Okay.
the CEO. Yeah.
She's the CEO. So according to a statement that she released on to the Los Angeles Times, it said there was financial circumstances were the only reason for this cut. And then I saw that the Press Telegram also ran something, and it said, due to uncertainty and risk. Share more about that, because I also heard there was a large contribution that was made in the initiation of this nonprofit organization. So is that true? I mean, is it, was it the only? Because I just wondering.
I think that sometimes, like we've seen this time and time again, sometimes you just mismanage situations. And I was literally in a staff meeting where Melissa Evans admitted that she was managing our business finances the way that she was managing her checkbook. And I think you and I both know that's not going to get it. So
I don't know. Look, I don't even know where my checkbook is right now. So that's kind of frightening. Just saying.
Yes. Yes. So
part of the business model that I work with organizations and small business owners, is I help them manage their finances, and their bills wouldn't get paid if I did it the way I
don't even know that many people who operating out of checkbook, so that's probably why you can't find it, because who's operating out of a checkbook now? But
okay, so that's
I think
continue.
One of the biggest concerns that we had as a staff in our initial meeting when we were told we were going to a nonprofit, John Molina was having some financial issues of his own that obviously I'm not at liberty to go into, but that made the Long Beach Post problematic for him. And it was something that he wanted to cut ties to because he simply couldn't afford it anymore. So we weren't upset by that at all, because becoming a nonprofit is something that we've been talking about since 2021 when I joined. And the reason why we've been talking about becoming a nonprofit is because it's just anytime for those of you who know the Robert Garcia and then Cindy Allen and then John Molina, there's a certain level of understanding from the community that you can only do so much, because you can't really go too deep into things because that will upset your owner. That's not any different. I want to stress this. That's not any different than whatever job you have right now. If you go on your YouTube page with whatever job you work for and you start bashing the owner, good luck having a job the next day. So it is what it is. So we had been talking since 2021 that we wanted to be independent, that we wanted to really be a catalyst for the community, to tell community stories and do what we wanted to do, to be a voice for the community, not to bias the community, but to say, this is the information that you need to know so you can affect change. And we had talked about that at length. So becoming a nonprofit was something we were really excited about. That being said, it came a little bit sooner than we thought it was going to come. This is something that we wanted to happen down the line. But that's also for me when the problem started, because one of the first things that was told to us in a meeting, and I'm sure this is circulating somewhere, was that we were going to get $500,000 in seed money from John Molina. So I, being who I am, I didn't want to call anyone out immediately, but I did call Melissa Evans to the side, and I was like, I don't know where you come from, but where I come from, you don't accept the word of somebody you separating from. Like, that's just not a thing. Do we have enough money to afford this if he does not give us this money? I was told yes. Everyone was told yes. At that point in time, we all had questions. We all thought, do we have to take a pay cut for those who are left behind? We're willing to take a pay cut if it means preserving this entity that we all love, that we all want to continue. Is it necessary for us to take a pay cut? We were told, no, it's not necessary. We're going to do everything to not allow anyone to take a pay cut. So now there's this 2-week block between when we separate from PCM, which is the company that John Molina owns, and we go into the Long Beach Journalism Initiative. There's a 2 week period. Now, what should have happened is, because we did get our severance from PCM, that's standard, that happens all the time in this business. What should have happened is, unfortunately, there should have been a basically radio silence. There should have been no news coming from the Long Beach Post during that 2 week period. But instead, what happened was, we were told that if we wanted to be signed on with the Long Beach Initiative, we had to work those 2 weeks unpaid. And if we chose not to do that, if we raised a stink about that, then that would jeopardize us being employed on the next venture. To be fair, that should have been the all hands on deck, it's time to go. But again, we're so passionate about what we do, and we're so passionate about this city, that we just didn't immediately think about that. And so that is one of the things that came up. We brought that up once we started learning that firings were happening. And that specific point that we brought up, like, hey, just remember, we are so committed to this organization that we were willing to work for 2 weeks for free. And that shaped the narrative, like, oh, it's about the money. It's about the money. When that's not what it was about. It was about making sure that we continue to provide the news that this community needs.
Well, I mean, people deserve to get paid.
I mean,
I just, I know, like, some of the commentary that I've seen online, um, there's a lot of criticism about the paywall. And I mean,
understandable.
I personally don't like the paywall, right? I mean, I've figured out ways to get around the paywall, right?
Most people do.
Figure out how to get around that, right?
And I just want to interject there too. The paywall we did, we jumped the gun on that. We jumped the gun on the paywall because we were so, I don't want to say desperate, but we definitely were anxious to get the community's involvement. There was definitely a better way that we could have gone about that. We now know that as a nonprofit, instituting that paywall was not something we should have done. But in that transition, the people who now it's like, okay, well, how do we get it down? So there's a little lag time within that. But as a nonprofit, we should not have. The reasoning was sound. The reasoning was, we want the community to support us, but the execution was flawed, and so that paywall should not have gone up.
Yeah, I mean, I know I personally didn't like, was very annoyed by it, and because I had some issues with some of the reporting of the Long Beach Post, I was like, I am not giving them a dollar.
Right.
Until I learned about the transition. And so, I made the contribution. But even in that, my membership didn't work for months.
Right.
And I kept, I didn't deal with it until recently. I was like, hey, I am continuing to be asked for money when I've already gave you money,
Right.
So, again, and then working for a nonprofit organization, wondering what systems were not properly put in place. Because that was I was like, they done set this mess up and it don't even work right.
Right. Yeah, everything happened very quickly. Like, most people take years, at least a year at minimum, to organize a nonprofit. I think a lot of times it takes 2 to 3. We did it in 4 months. So it was rushed because it had to be. Although we had been planning it since 2021, I don't think to my understanding, I don't think anyone in leadership understood the urgency of that situation and started to plan more effectively for that transition.
So, one of the things that began to happen in this transition was the decision to become a union, a bargaining unit.
Mhm.
Can you share information like how did you get to that point and what does that mean? Like the I know I pulled it up with the Long Beach, what is it? Long Beach Media Guild.
Correct. Long Beach
Is that
Media Guild. Yeah.
is that part of something larger? Like what does that mean for a journalist? I
Yeah.
honestly I didn't know that journalists were part of unions. So tell me
Yes.
about that.
A lot of journalists are becoming part of unions. Fun fact, if you go back in time to 2012, there is a video of Melissa Evans circulating when she fought for a union because a lot of people in her organization at the time were fired by the new owner. So the fight that we're fighting is a very familiar fight to Melissa Evans, though she's pretending that it is not. I'm gonna leave it at that. But we decided to become a union because, again, we were. Let me say this: we're journalists, right? So there's not a lot that gets past us. We ask a lot of questions about everything, not just what goes on in the city, but what goes on in our organization as well. So we started to ask questions. Probably one of the first signs was it took 4 months for our insurance to happen, which meant one of my colleagues ended up breaking his finger in a bike incident, but couldn't get that taken care of because our insurance didn't go through. So I think that insurance, at least for me, was what triggered this. What the hell y'all doing? You know what I mean? So that triggered those kinds of questions. And then as we started to ask those kinds of questions, I think we all started digging and finding out, oh, we're not in a good place. So then I think for us, we were always told we are a team, we're a family, we're going to do this together. So to find out that we were in trouble and not have been informed and ahead of time was problematic for us because we all were willing to sacrifice to make sure that the Long Beach Post succeeded and provided. And I say this all the time. If you really want to get to know a journalist, ask them why they became a journalist. And for me, it was always to tell the stories of people who look like me. And I can tell you, in the 12 years that I've been a journalist, this is the first time I have felt like I am at home. This is the first time I have lived in a city that I love. This is the first time that I have people that I can call on and say, hey, I'm hearing these rumblings. Who you got that can help me with this? I'm trying to cover this story, but I'm having like this is the first time where I am dialed in and I am connected and I can move in a way that really amplifies
Mhm.
the voice that has really been neglected in this city until I got here. And so I am 100% committed in making sure that that voice does not die down because it's needed. And I feel like diversity matters. So everyone needs a voice. And I'm just proud and lucky that I can be the voice for my community. So, but I'm not the only one. Jason loves doing politics. I know a lot of, but he loves going to city council meetings. That is weird to me. Just sitting in a city council meeting, like you're like, but he loves it. He loves going to city council meeting. He loves going to these commission meetings. Like he's like, where are you going? I'm going to like, and he's got a smile on his face. And I'm like, you do you, boo. Like that's not my thing, but that's what he loves to do. The love and the passion that each and every one of these journalists, Caitlin is our newest food journalist. Like when I hear her talk about food, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing the way you talk about food. But she doesn't just tell the story of food, she tells the story of the people who are making the food and how they came to be. So everything we do is about people. And we all laid it on the line before we became a nonprofit. And we said, let's do this together. Whatever bumps in the road that we hit, let's hit them together. Let's overcome them together. But let's make sure that we move as a unit. So for us in that moment to find out that we were not in a good space and there was no transparency before that. There was, when Laura Morga was fired in November, that completely alienated our Latino and Spanish speaking community. We had no outreach for them. That bothered me because if you don't care about this voice, why should you care about that one? And so that bothered me. And so there was no way to address that. There were several stories that I tried to get out that I was not allowed to do, and I had to call them to the carpet for that. And then, so you have all these things happening, and then you hear, hey guys, we're not okay. And it's like, what you mean? What you mean we not okay? I thought we were a family. I thought we were moving together. I thought we were all collectively going to try to make this thing better. You didn't even give us an opportunity to say, hey, I have this idea. What if we did this? I have this friend that might want it. None of that happened. We were just told, I balance this money the way that I balance my checkbook, and we're not in a good place, and we are going to have layoffs. There was
I
a lot of things that could be done in that conversation. We learned there was a lot of things that could be done to not make us completely solvent, but to definitely make us more solvent, buy more time, get more grants. Atira Rodriguez is one of the best grant writers I've come across, and she's constantly getting grants. So if we could have just bought a little time, we would have been okay. But we weren't told that the wheels were about to fall off, so we didn't really have an opportunity to save it. So that's why we unionize. And when you look at unions, especially across journalism, and I think this is true for a lot of different occupations, our union only affects the Long Beach Post. So it doesn't affect any other journalistic entity. It's literally just for the Long Beach Post. And we did it to try to protect the Long Beach Post. That's why we did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked in nonprofit for over 20 years. And so, I mean, I know there's a delicate line when it comes to making decisions that are going to be help the organization sustain.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that with the last time I interviewed with you, or no, yeah, in person, it was the last day you were in the building in the
Yep.
really nice with all like glass doors and
Nancy, I know. Yep.
with all fancy elevator and security
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But I remember you sharing with me because the transition, you all were going to have to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, you like your space was like the last space to be packed up. Um, I heard you all have a new office. Was that decision a physically sound decision being
No.
made? That was it. I don't know what your new office look like. Is it fancy foo foo like the last one, or?
No, it's not. It's definitely a downsizing. And though she says she doesn't remember it, I was very much involved because of my background in property management. I was very much involved with going to with Melissa to see different locations that could possibly be viable for us. But the thing is like you're never going to get a space like the one we had. The space that we had is amazing,
Mhm.
but it was also $15,000 a month. That's why it was amazing. And so as we are going from make that math make sense, right? but but as we're going from place to place, the space that we're in now, we were leaving, and I said to Melissa, I was said, this makes no sense. If money is the issue, we can't be spending money for a space for people that are very much willing to work at home. The majority of us, there are a few of us who live just outside of Long Beach, either in Torrance or the OC, but for the most part, all of us live here in Long Beach. So it makes no sense when I can offer my space, Jason, Brandon, they all have these spaces where we can work from. And then our social media manager, Jake Gata, had created this relationship with Alter, which is right in the heart of downtown Long Beach. And they were going to allow us to work outside of that space once a week. I was like, it makes no sense when money is the issue to spend money on space that we don't need. Her exact words to me were, I disagree. We need a space because it helps build morale. I can tell you this, that office has not been filled one time with every single journalist outside of the mandatory office meetings. No one's been there. So it's truly a waste of money. And I think this speaks to the mismanagement, because when you think that a group of people who hangs out together, that goes and has drinks together, that we need a space to build morale and be connected to one another, then you're missing the bigger picture, and you're missing an opportunity to save money. So if you've missed an opportunity to save money here, what other places have you missed an opportunity to save money?
I'm technically a donor.
Right, that's right. You
so so
are.
so
Mm-hmm.
so and it just hit me. The people who have made contributions to this organization, were any of them notified of what was about to go down?
I mean, if we weren't notified, why do you think?
Okay, I just, I don't read my emails every day. I
Hmm.
open my emails like I open my mail.
Right, right.
um. Wow. Okay. So.
And I don't mind people making mistakes. I
Mm,
don't mind people taking missteps, especially when they're thrown into the throes of something they've never done before. Melissa Evans is a theology major. She's been a journalist her whole life.
wow.
She has no background that says she can be a successful CEO. So I don't mind the missteps per se because we've all made them. No matter what
Mhm.
we've done, we've
Right.
all made them. What I mind is not taking onus of the missteps, not being transparent about the missteps, and not giving this wealth of knowledge in this newsroom an opportunity to help you correct the missteps. That's what I have a problem with.
So has your board, or well, not your board anymore, but the board, have they spoken out at all about what's been going on? Or I mean, I kind of, took a look at who the board members are. It looks fairly local people. Here, actually, let me just share this so other folks can see this. Um, So what I'm sharing right now is the board of the Long Beach Journalism Initiative. Something that I didn't mention in opening is that the initiative is also over the Long Beach Business Journal, which is a print publication. So staffing that manages or that were responsible for the Business Journal, they were let go as well, right?
Correct, correct. Yes.
So okay, so I actually like the Business Journal.
Everybody does. I love
Yeah.
going into businesses and seeing the business. I love walking. I travel a lot. I go home to Denver a lot to see my mom. I love walking through the airport and seeing the business journal. It just makes me feel so proud. So everyone loves the business journal.
So now it's like, what happens to that, but these are the board members, look like local folks.
Hmm.
See an executive director of a nonprofit here. I see people who have experience in journalism, so leadership team. So are all of these leadership team, I see Melissa, Atira, Jeremiah, Dennis, are they still staffed? Are they
Dennis
still?
was let go. Um, Jeremiah is Melissa's right hand, so he's not going to go anywhere. Atira is definitely still there, and she is fighting for us and with us.
Okay.
She definitely sees the need for us, but yeah, she's still there.
Out of this newsroom, who was kept? If you, I don't know if you're able to see it,
Thomas Cardova,
the photographer.
Jason, yep, Jason Ruiz,
Hmm.
Fernando Haro, and Alicia Robinson.
Okay, but they're the three that are currently, or the three of those four are currently striking, right?
Correct. Yes.
Oh,
Thomas Cardova is the only one who's not striking right now.
hmm, okay. Um, well, you take
He's
pictures.
56, y'all. Y'all got to give him
I
grace. He's
no, you know
56.
what? I love following him and his work. So, and I'm like, but you gotta have a story to go with those pictures.
Right, right.
So Jake Gotta, I was just really beginning to enjoy, watching Jake. He was, his hair was a little groomed differently lately. I was like, okay, you put on a little suit.
Yes.
So, um, okay, so that basically, oh wait, and board. Okay, so that's who's here. Oh, so it only shows
I do
only
think it's important to note, though, that Melissa was self appointed to the CEO position and she also selected the board. So I just want to make
ah,
sure people
okay.
understand that.
Okay, so nonprofit shenanigans, basically.
Hmm.
I mean, just
Hmm.
nonprofit shenanigans. That is what it is. Okay, who is in any leadership in the city of Long Beach that is taking a stand with or for on behalf of the Long Beach Post? Has anybody, said, we are going to support and fight for our local news?
Surprisingly, there's been a lot of people that are willing to take a stance for us. I know our mayor, Rex Richardson, he has reached out. Robert Garcia has reached out as well. So there are people that are waiting in the wings. I think that to some extent we've tied their hands a little bit because as a staff, we're not going to work for Melissa Evans ever again. So there that has to be resolved before any real action can be taken right now.
So if a new CEO was selected,
Hmm.
would you all return to work if re-offered your positions back? Or would you? You can only speak for
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Yeah.
You can only speak for you.
I don't know.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying I don't know is because I found it to be very, very difficult to tell a lot of the stories that I wanted to tell. And then there was a moment in time where I asked about that, and they were honest. I'm going to give it them that, but they were honest and said they didn't respect me as a journalist. Jeremiah Dobrik was part of that. So for me, there's a question mark. I'm not going to ever work for Melissa Evans again. I am not going to ever work for Jeremiah Dobrik again. So I don't know. I
I,
don't
I,
know.
I'm gonna say this. I didn't think you would last more than a year.
Oh, but I did though. Hey.
But you did though. I'm just saying, when I learned about what you were supposed to be doing, I didn't think that in the environment that's in Long Beach, that Long Beach is really good at kind of hide, right? We talk about how we want to support Black people and Black things, but when it comes down to it, we really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, so I mean, I applaud you to the advancements that you've made and the connections that you've made and the voices that you've shared and the stories that you tell. I mean, I personally appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you've gotten to this point. I don't blame you for not returning, choosing to not return. I understand that sentiment, been there, done that.
Yeah. I would love to return, but I understand, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. If someone appoints me to a position, am I going to suddenly turn my back on them? You know, Probably not. So the likelihood that we would see a different situation where Melissa and Jeremiah are not part of the Long Beach Post are very, very slim. I would not be mad at any of my colleagues for going back. But what I'm not going to do is have my voice continue to be censored. So without an understanding of that, I can still tell these stories on my own. I have a whole platform on my own. I think there's a level of I have to understand that it takes stepping out on faith. But that's why I got into this business. I got into this business to tell the stories of people who look like me, and I can't let that be hindered anymore. So I just have to figure out what that looks like going forward. If it looks like the Long Beach Post is the spot, which I love working for the Long Beach Post, I love my colleagues, then that's what it is. But if it doesn't, it just doesn't.
Well, I hope that things are in your favor and that things are in the favor of the other journalists. I really sad about what has transpired. It happens in multiple nonprofits, right?
It
Not
does, yeah.
brand new ones. Nonprofit is not for the weak, especially leadership and having a real understanding of how nonprofits operate. Uh,
Hmm.
I just, one thing that I do hope is that people who are, like I said, I've been very critical of the Long Beach Post for a very long time because I felt that it was the city hall's newsletter,
Hmm.
and that they were really good at pushing out press releases but not writing stories. But seeing the transition over the last 5 months, 5 6 months, and seeing these real stories made me very excited that the community in the city was being informed. I still have screenshots of where they've got their Black men mixed up.
Right.
I ain't gonna forget those moments. But I also know that in those times were times when I reached out directly and said, hey, you made a mistake, you need to fix it. And even in my criticism, corrections were always made. So I always appreciated that. I don't know if I will, and then because I didn't really share anything from the Long Beach Post until
Mm-hmm.
recently.
Hmm.
If I don't, if and I'm my fear is that the Long Beach Post is going to revert back to what it was. It's
That's
going to
my
go
fear as
back to
well.
being the City Hall newsletter. So even, I know you mentioned the mayor and the former mayor and their support. Yeah, but what strings are attached to it? You know what I'm saying? I believe our local media and all media should not have any political ties.
I agree with that 100%, which is why I think I even see some people in the chat that I called a few times and I was like, I need you to become a member because I really think the most powerful news source is the news source that is for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said that you were critical of the Long Beach Post for a long time, and I would encourage everybody to do that
Mm-hmm.
because the squeaky wheel gets the noise, right? So if there's things that are going on in your community, don't just be critical about what they are covering, be critical about what they're not covering. And make sure that things that affect your community, you're putting at the forefront. And be loud and be proud about how loud you are, and continue to be critical, continue to call out things that are wrong. We're still a very small news staff, so there might be stuff that we don't get to, but make noise about that. Make noise about that. There's no one in that newsroom. I'm very, very proud of that newsroom. There's no one in that newsroom that doesn't care about Long Beach, and they want to get it right. They definitely want to get it right, which is why it's so easy to make corrections, right? Because we want to get it right. As far as the staff is concerned with the Long Beach Post, you don't have a problem. You have a problem with leadership, and I think sometimes power just corrupts. And I think that's where we're at right now. And as a whole, though, we are brainstorming ideas right now that we can continue on as a unit to make sure this doesn't become a news desert. So even if the Long Beach Post is not the entity that we continue to work for, we're taking steps behind the scenes. When I tell you we are committed to Long Beach, I'm trying to tell you we committed to Long Beach. Like, we have a whole group chat. Every time you see me look up to the corner, it's because the group chat is talking about another way that we might be able to sustain ourselves as journalists in Long Beach. They are so committed. They are such an immensely talented bunch. Jake Gata is one of the people that I was like, we need a social media manager. And I can't tell you how many people just don't read anymore. So why it's so important to have a social media presence. And he takes that very seriously. So I am very proud of him for that. I'm very proud of Caitlin, who's taken this food scene. Fernando, bless his heart, lives on the police scanner and in court. That's all he does. Like, he is so
He's a
committed.
sweetheart too.
He's
He's
such a
sweetheart.
nice guy, such a nice
Yeah.
guy. Just gentle. And then, like I said, I don't know why, but Jason likes to go to all of these city council meetings and things like that. So
As much
everybody is
as much of a hard time as we have given Jason,
he's a goat. I don't
let
care.
me tell you, I have to say that there are folks that because he has been someone that we've had to call him out on some things that
Mhm.
we felt was bias reporting, which I've learned it's not always the reporter, it's who the reporter reports to that
Mhm.
makes these different alterations and changes. But Jason is appreciated, and what he does, he has saved some of us some grief of sitting up
Mhm.
in those meetings. So we're glad he's doing it. So again, hope for the best outcomes. Someone did send me a question right now, and the question is, and then we'll wrap up. Are any of the laid off folks intending on suing the Post at all?
That's, yes, that's definitely something that's in the back of our minds, but it's in the very, very back of our minds. And the reason why it's in the very back of our minds is because
They ain't got no money.
and we're hoping for a resolution. We're hoping that what money is left, we don't have to take. You know what I mean? We're hoping that there's a resolution, we can get back to work, but we not back to work with the support of a CEO and a managing editor that we don't trust, but the support of the community.
Mhm.
So none of us are really talking about suing right now. It's always a possibility. The
Right,
notes that I take on, it's always a possibility, but it's not at the forefront of our minds because we want this to succeed. That's
right.
what's at the forefront of our mind right now, is figuring out a way that we can succeed and move forward.
All right. So tell folks how folks can support or keep up with you. What I did is it says to follow Jackie Rae on all platforms. That's
Mhm.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Where else can we find you?
You can everywhere. Jackie Rae TV on YouTube, Spotify, because I have a show called The Jackie Rae Show. Hope you see back there. The Jackie Rae Show is on Spotify and all streaming platforms. I'm on KFI with Mo Kelly every single Monday, so I'm still doing my radio thing. Um, I am redoing my website. Somebody brought it to my attention when this all started that I have a whole functioning website that doesn't really
Function.
highlight it doesn't function. It kind of just exists with some cute pictures on it. But that I need to really make it a functioning website that highlights my work and gives people an opportunity to donate. So I'm definitely working on that. We are also, like I said, working behind the scenes. So if you can continue to follow the guild, our union, as we progress in that, if needed, we are going to create a platform where we can continue to do the jobs that we do and give you ways to support there as well.
Okay, let me share this real quick. So on Instagram, LBM Guild. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so folks can find them on Instagram, follow, if you want to keep up with what's going on. All right. And also, like I said, you can find Jackie Rae at Jackie Rae TV. Um, do you have any last thoughts? One, I appreciate you. I had so many conversations. People were like reaching out to me and asking. I mean, because look, first of all, we got a whole bunch of stories we need you to tell.
I know.
So wait a minute. We she got to tell these stories first. Will she still tell them? So, so we a lot of conversation just about you and the contributions that you made to the Black community, or you and Voice of the Black story, and even outside of that, you're appreciated. So, any last words that you would like to share for now, because we know there's going to be more words to come.
Yes.
But for now, I thank you for taking the time. Hopefully, folks that had questions, they've been answered, but also know that this is not the end. This is the beginning. Definitely, if you are a member of the Long Beach Post, you need to reach out to that board and ask them what's going on. You need to reach out to
Please
the
do
board,
that.
reach out to the executive director, say what's going on. Even if you're not a member, one thing folks have to remember, nonprofit organizations belong to the public. So whether you
Mm-hmm.
make a contribution or not, it is a public organization. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Public. So everyone can have some input in it. Um, so please use your voice, reach out, ask questions, keep up via social media, keep up with Jackie Rae, and what you got to say.
As far as the question on it, can I still tell these stories? The answer is absolutely yes. I'm working on releasing a story that I wasn't allowed to release at the Long Beach Post regarding Anthony Holmes addressing the racism within the Long Beach Refuge Department. That should be out this week. I did a podcast that was supposed to be on the Post, but it's going to be on the Jackie Rae Show with Blue, and he's talking about his experience in the gang life and how that transitioned to him helping young people now. Sheba's in the chat. She hooked me up with him. That's going to come out on Monday. And then I have another Charles Fleming. He's a Motown legend that lives in Long Beach. That story should be out on April 3rd. So the answer to your question on if I'm going to continue to tell the stories in Long Beach, emphatically yes. Yes, I am. Hey.
Hey, thank you, Jackie. So folks who are watching is Jerlene, been live with Jackie Rae. It's just been actually an honor, especially since I've been on the other side of you. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity and privilege. My first talk of the town since I had some temporary insanity.
Yes.
Which, I'll talk about that later, folks. But again, Jerlene, Talk of the Town. I'm gonna continue telling stories and bringing attention to different issues in community the best way that I'm able to. So again, I'm here to inform, engage, inspire, and hopefully I made you laugh. If not, maybe next time. So again, please react, comment, share. The way that the message goes farther, we got to push those algorithms, and it's easy. It's free. It's free. All you got to do is you could give some love. And if you don't like it, then say you don't like it. It still helps.
Yes, it does.
It does. Appreciate it. So, Jackie, I'm going to end the stream. Please don't leave. Thank you, folks. Catch you all later.